Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Thanks for watching Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage Vault Series. The Vault Series is a series of interviews that we shot starting back in 2004, 2 years before the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum opened to the public. If you like what you see, please be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. Thanks for watching. Like I mentioned on Noki Edwards' interview, this was shot at NAMM in 2005 in LA. I was able to get 4 great interviews, and this is one of them. One of my favorite jazz guitarists, played with Chick Corea, Al Meola. I hope you enjoy it.
I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey.
And what was your earliest recollection of wanting to be a musician or an instrument or whatever?
I have to say that I think it started as early as 4, 5, 6 years old, and the images of guys like Elvis Presley on TV with the guitar and creating that kind of hysteria had an effect on me. It could be as early as Elvis, that, you know, when I think back on that. And then the Ventures, you know, and this is right around the time I started to play when I was about 8 years old. So we had to play all of those kind of cool instrumental tunes. I absorbed the music of the Byrds. After that seminal period of, you know, getting introduced to the guitar, and I went through a period of listening to country music. I was really, I was thinking of moving to Nashville. That's how much I was into country music.
Was there a particular player that?
Well, Clarence White was a big inspiration to me at that time, and Doc Watson, and people like that. You know, even pedal steel freak. You know, I was really into Buddy Emmons and all of that stuff, and I even thought about just playing pedal steel. That was a short-lived period, but it was a very fruitful period for me. You know, but going back to the age of 8 when I started to play guitar, I was fortunate to have had my teacher be a jazz instructor who was versed in the kind of jazz of the era of Tal Farlow and, you know, Johnny Smith and Howard Roberts. So my training resulted in absorbing a lot of that kind of style, when at the same time I was totally into what was hip at the time, with rock and pop and that country phase shortly after. And then I got into jazz, and with the background I had with the training, it all kind of tied in. And then, you know, the blend of all of these influences resulted in me being, you know, up for the role of guitarist with Chick Corea, and it just paid off. You know.
Did you ever get a steel guitar? Did you ever?
Yeah, I had a Showbutt. Double neck.
Can you play it?
E9 tuning. I can't play it anymore, but at the time I was pretty good. You know. But I had to make a choice. I saw that I was getting so into the pedal steel that I was neglecting the guitar. And by that time, I already had a lot of training on the guitar. And I said, man, I better get back to what I was really meant to be playing. You know.
And so what was your first guitar?
Well, the very first guitar was a very cheap acoustic guitar. It probably cost $20 that my parents thought they should just weed me on, you know. Wean me, I should say. And then I got an electric guitar, a Segovia Japanese electric guitar. That was a piece of junk. My first good guitar was a Guild Starfire, which I still have. And yeah.
What's your guitar, or do you even have a guitar preference now?
I have a bunch of guitar preferences. I have maybe 10 there's 10 that I think are prized. You know, some of them are old Les Pauls. A couple are like Spanish classical guitars that have appreciated quite dramatically. A couple of Paul Reed Smiths. Ovation. I have a lot of Ovations. But of the 10, there's some custom-made guitars that have been made for me with elaborate inlay from independent makers around the world. So I have a nice collection.
When was your first, or what was your first band? Do you remember the name of it?
I think we had a band called the Young Rascals.
For real?
Not the Rascals,
Yeah.
but the Young
Yeah.
Rascals.
And you did the cover stuff.
Yeah,
Were you influenced by the Beatles in it?
big time. Beatles are primarily responsible for my early development as well. You know, I think they single-handedly have captured my attention and motivated me to want to really continue with music. I think a lot of us, Beatles, to this day, you could put on records like Sgt. Pepper and the Magical Mystery Tour and be completely blown away with the production, the crafting of the song, the melodies. Amazing. Better than a lot of stuff out today, I'll tell you that.
When did you know you had your special style that you have? You know,
I recognized that there was something uniquely different about what I was doing, and where I discovered that I had a voice. And it wasn't until between my first and my second solo album, at the age of 21, that I thought, okay, I actually have something that is different. And that was a really good discovery, you know, to know that exists, and that I'm not copying something.
how did you end up with Chick Corea?
Chick Corea got a hold of a tape through a friend of my playing with when I was part of the Barry Miles Quartet, and I had gone back to Berklee School of Music after that time, and when I was back at school, I got a call from Chick, who had heard a tape of that performance with Barry Miles, and he wanted me to join the band, and it was a dream come true for me because that was my favorite group at the time, and that's it. I left Boston. My first show with Chick was 3 nights later at Carnegie Hall.
That's a blast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sold out. 19 years old.
That's unbelievable. Did you do a lot of session work at all?
You know, there were two different kinds of players out there. There were the session players only, and then there were the ones that had names in the forefront, stage performers. Very rarely did you have a mix of the two in that period, in the 70s and the 80s, I thought. You know, it was like a different club. That club, the studio musicians, I greatly admired, and they had, there were names from the East Coast, and there were names from the West Coast, and there were names from Nashville, and they were the same guys that had a lock on the market, just like soundtrack people in Hollywood. That they get all of that work. There's a club.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I didn't belong to that club. I didn't need, I felt, to belong to it because I had my own career.
Yeah.
But I admired these guys, and they were very instrumental in the success of a lot of these, songs that came out as hits for a lot of pop artists, country artists, and greatly admired, very talented. But they were behind the scene heroes, and it's really nice that they're going to get the acknowledgement with this wonderful museum that's coming about. I'm proud to just talk about it. I think it's a great thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an artist that comes from a pop top 40 radio background, which would have put my name into another category. But I'm really grateful to have had the acknowledgement of musicians, especially, and the respect.
What kind of strings do you like?
Strings?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. This day was devoted to working at my string dilemma. I've been using Diodario, which are very nice strings, for certain types of sound. But in the early days, I was using Guild phosphor bronze.
Do you like a low action or a little bit higher action?
I like more on the low side, Not ridiculous low, but low.
And what about a neck size? Do you like a chunky neck or a thin neck?
More thin to slightly not thin. Somewhere in between, but I don't like chunky.
Well, what about amplifiers? Is there a particular amplifier?
We recently, not that I've been doing a lot of electric, because I haven't, but when I was, in the latter years, it's been a Koch. Koch. It's a Dutch company. Before that, it was Boogie and Marshall much earlier on. But
With
now I'm
Korea?
interested in trying a revamped Marshall head again, or a Dumble even. Somewhere in between those three, a Koch, Dumble, and a revamped Marshall is going to be in the future.
Do you even use a pick?
I use a pick primarily for anything real technical, but I also do a lot with my fingers, especially when I'm writing.